Okay. So STLC, we're going to continue the STLC. We have completed requirement phase, test plan phase last week, and we're going to start with test cases. So these three are very, very important. This three deals with documentation. This one is your bread and butter. This is what you must learn. So we're going to take some time here, explain the process here. Right. And in a broader term, we are learning STLC. STLC is software testing lifecycle. As a tester, as a quality assurance engineer, your job is to do this following, right? The entire process of STLC. And we're learning one by one. Requirement phase should be crystal clear. Requirement is what the customer wants or what the system, what do you want from the system, basically. Test plan is just like planning before you do anything serious. You need to have a good plan in place. So this is your test plan. Now your test cases. So test cases are step-by-step process of testing a software product or a requirement. So you see you have the requirement here, right? And now you're gonna create the steps to test the requirement. Right here, you're gonna create the steps to create a test the requirement. For example, let's say if someone says, can you build me an application that has a login functionality, right? That's your requirement. I think I shown you this requirement sometimes back. So this is an application, it's a demo application, demo Guru 99 test, whatever. Okay, let me click on it. So if I look at this one, right, this is a real application, a real demo application, basically. So if you look at this application, this has a login feature. This has sign-on registration support contact. And then once you register, you're able to sign in and it has login functionality. So this doesn't get built automatically. This has to go through the process. And the process is what? Requirement, then planning, then executing, and all of that. And we are not responsible for all of that, but we are responsible for our STLC portion of it. I hope you guys remember how we, okay, right here. Let's open this tab as well. So to build this application, right? To build this application, we have to go through this process. And this is the SDLC process, software development lifecycle, right? I hope you guys remember requirement, planning, designing, developing, testing, UAT, production, and the rest of it. So to build this application, we have to go through this process. But to test this application, we just need to stick to our testing part right here, right? And that's what we're going to continue to learn, which is this, right? STLC. We learn about requirement phase. What do we do when the requirement is there? Anyone is here able to tell me what do you do once requirement is given to you? Anyone brave enough to tell me what do you do when a requirement given to you?
Do you read and understand the requirement?
And you read and understand, making sure what are the main point you're trying to understand in the requirement?
You have to make sure that it's unique, precise, clear, testable, consistent, not ambiguous, and it's bounded.
Perfect. Thank you, brother. Okay, so after that, we move to test plan. And test plan is just like everything else. You create a plan, how you're going to do it, when, and what are the risks and things like this. So that's your test plan. Now test cases. Test cases, let's see if we have a definition here somewhere. Test plan, test cases, okay. Create system test case development phase gets started. Test case development phase gets started once the test planning phase is completed. It is a step-by-step process of testing a requirement. That's it. This is one line. Good enough. It is a test step-by-step process of testing a requirement. Okay, that's all you need to know. So step-by-step process of testing a requirement. So let's look at the requirement. So So to build this application, we need to have the requirement. And where is the requirement? Is right here. So look at the requirement. We have RQ001, requirement 001. User shall be able to navigate to the home page, then sign on page. Now, for this entire application, we would have to have at least a couple of hundreds requirement, but unfortunately, we don't have time to go through the entire 200 plus requirements. We selected just a few, maybe 3 or 4, 001, 002, 003. That's it. So 004, 4 requirements. So we started light and then we went heavy. But don't worry, we'll do a live project with you guys on our IT solutions application, and you're going to do end-to-end from beginning to ending of testing and requirement gathering, test plan creation. Everything will perform physically. But right now, just to teach you, give you an overview of test cases, we're just going to go light. So to build this application, we needed requirement, and where is the requirement is right here. So look at requirement 1, requirement 001. We are saying user shall be able to navigate to the sign-on page from the home page. Now we are saying supported browser. Remember we talked about browsers. Whenever we're building a web-based application, we need to consider which browser it should be supporting. So supported browsers are the latest version of Chrome and Edge only. So we are saying our application, as long it supports Chrome and Edge, we are good. We don't need to worry about other browsers. So that's it, simple. So when you look at this one, now you need to design your test cases based off this requirement. You're saying your application should have homepage, and then from homepage, you should be able to go to the sign-on page. So this is homepage, right? Look at this. This is when I click on it. This is homepage, right? I'm on homepage. Now I need to go to sign-on page. I'm going to click on this and it will take me to the sign-on page. And this is your sign-on page. That is it. That is your simple requirement. And it should be very, very straightforward. So when you see a requirement, now this is a requirement is very, very straightforward, and it does not have too much complexity, or it doesn't have too many ways of testing. This is a very straightforward one way you can test it. And when I say one way, I'm talking about different scenarios, right? When you see a requirement, first thing you need to see, how many different scenarios can I create out of a requirement? How many different ways I can test this? As a tester, your job is not to fix the application. Your job is to break the application. Can someone confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I pressed a couple of buttons, so I was just making sure. So as a tester, your mindset should be negative. You should find a way to break the application. Your job is not to fix the application. Your job is to break the application. And how do you do this? Now you see a requirement. Now you have to be creative to say, okay, they told me I should be able to go to the sign-on page using homepage, right? Now, okay, fine. I'm going to test positive scenarios. So there are different scenarios, right? Positive scenarios, negative scenarios, boundary value scenarios, all kind of things, database, backend related scenarios. You'll learn all of them eventually, but the most easy ones are the positive scenario, and you must perform positive scenarios. Positive scenarios meaning what do you want from the system? It should behave the way that requirement was defined for. So basically requirement says, you should be able to go to the sign-in page from homepage, perform this scenario. If it works, that's good. Positive scenario is working. Now negative scenarios, and how can you come up with negative scenarios for this one? Is very tough, but we'll try to see how we can do that. So first, when you see requirement, now you need to think about how many different scenarios can I come up with this one. So let's work on it. Let's start creating the test cases, right? Test cases. So this is the application, this is the requirement, and this is where we're going to create test cases. Right here. This test case is already created. I'm going to grab a new sheet so we can work on this. So test cases can be created on the Excel sheet or a physical tool, or Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word is not recommended at all. It has to be Excel sheet or a tool. A tool can be, when I say a tool, I mean an application. So it depends where you land. Usually there is a tool called Jira. Jira is very popular nowadays. Everybody uses Jira, and we will use Jira in our project. In our project, in IT solutions, basically, when we do actual work. In my actual work, I use Jira as well. Everybody uses Jira. Rajuba uses Jira. Mamun uses Jira. Everybody uses Jira. Jira is the popular application to do your test management, project management, things in those nature. And we'll give you access to it later on once you get there. But for right now, just learn it the simplest way possible. To create test cases, like I talked about, create scenarios to see how many scenarios can you create. Then you're going to create steps. Then you will create expected result. So for this one, let's see how many scenarios can we create. Users shall be able to navigate to the home page, sign in page. I'm just going to copy this, right? This is my scenario. I will say verify user. That's my scenario one. And let's see, I think the requirement is RQ001, right? So I'll copy this as well. Right. This is my requirement ID. This is my scenario. And this scenario, so here it says for Chrome and Edge only. So I'm going to start by creating these scenarios for Chrome. Right. Creating test cases is so simple. You can simply copy and paste everything. Now here you're going to put your steps, right? So what would be your step one? Let's just say step one. What would be your step one? So let me start. Open the browser or Chrome browser. Open the Chrome browser. What is your step two? Step two. I will make step two is what? This is your step two. Feel free to, give suggestion, but let's just do one. So all I'm doing, right, whatever the action I will perform, going to that application, exact location of that application, I will just record it here. Then what is the next step? Hit enter. Every little details you need to record here. So let me show you how. So I will have to open my browser first, right? Then I have to enter this link, right? And then I have to click enter. This is what I need to do. And after this, I'm already on the home page. So I need to go to this section of it, right? So I need to record it as well. I need to record this. So I must say this URL. What is the fourth one? Click on the sign on button. Click on the sign on button. That's my steps, right? So when I click on the sign on button, let's say this is where I am, right? This is the last action that I need to perform, right? Click on the sign on button, then what happens? Oh man, where is it? Then what are we expecting?
To be able to
shall,
sign in.
no, we are, what is your requirement? Verify user shall be able to navigate to the home page, sign on page using Chrome. So my next, so what are we verifying? User shall be on the sign on page. That's it. You can reword it anyhow you want, but this is what you're verifying. This is your test scenario. You're using Chrome. You're navigating to the sign-on page from home page. First step is open the Chrome. Second step, enter the URL. Third step, hit the enter on your keyboard. Fourth step, click on the sign-on button. What are you expecting? User shall be on the sign-on page successfully. That's it.
But you can add probably a fifth step as well, which is the actual verification.
In here?
Yeah, so you can add a fifth step is what you're verifying.
No, that's yeah, I see what you're saying, but this is only action, user action. Steps equals to user action. Verifying in here expected. I see what you're saying, Mamun, but the proper way to do this is here only record user action. When you say a fifth step, verify user is on the sign-on page, you are not taking any physical action, you're verifying visually, and that is your expected result. And then, of course, you have your actual results we will record later, but this is good enough. You can do that, Mamun. It's not going to be wrong, but but this is also accurate. This is my scenario here, right? This is scenario 1, and this is my steps, which is user action, and this is the expected result. That should cover pretty much our first scenario of this requirement. Now I have a question to the group, right? This is a requirement. Read it properly, right? Supported browsers are latest version of Chrome and Edge only. Now this is my requirement, right? Both lines are the requirements. I have written this test case. Do you guys think I need to create another test case, another scenario, or this is good enough to complete my testing?
You can do a negative testing as well on Chrome.
Tell me how.
If you were to verify your sign on, oh, sorry. We just need to make sure that the sign on button is working. Sorry. I thought it was making sure that you can actually go ahead and sign in.
No, just the page.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just landing on the page.
Gotcha.
Even on the positive scenarios, do you guys think we need another couple of scenarios, or this is good enough?
I think it's good enough.
Everybody agree with her or no?
I would say we're supposed to do with the Edge too, because they're
Absolutely.
asking Chrome and Edge.
Absolutely, yeah. How do you know this application works on Edge? Because you only tested, or you're only planning to test on Chrome, right? So this is another scenario is required here. So only thing you need to do is change this to it, right? That's it. Edge browser. Now see, can you do more scenarios here? I mean, as a starter, as a beginner, as newbie, this is good enough. But once you become pro, now you need to think. I mean, even now, like, of course, you need to think outside the box. And one of the box I can tell you right now, you see, a lot of the browsers, it requires to test in a different resolution, like maximize resizing browsers and things in those nature. A lot of the application that break when you're resizing that browser. I don't know if you can see my screen browser. I resized it. Right now, I had it fully maximized, but then I resized it. You can play with this. So whenever you're testing a UI-based application, you must have a scenario, right? Resize your browser to a certain extent and see how your application behaves. And a lot of the UI-based application, they break. So you can definitely create another scenario with resizing your browser, which is just, it's just not maximized. Just resize it and see how your UI-based application behaves. That's your another scenario, right? You can create another scenario and perform that testing. Now, if we talk about, let's go back to the requirement one more time. If we talk about negative scenarios here, right, we don't really have, okay, there is no boundary value scenarios here can be performed. It's not needed. I don't think backend scenarios is not needed here. But if we talk about negative scenario here, we can perform negative scenario, but it's not ideal here. Because whenever we build an application, web-based application, whatever the browsers we are focused on, if it works on those browsers, we are happy. We don't really care if it works on, let's say, Firefox or not. But let's say in here, it seems like they said, okay, it shouldn't work on any other browsers. Look at, it's not the case in real scenario. Like I'm saying, whenever you have a project that you're working on, UI-based project, and your customers are mainly using Chrome and Edge or Chrome and Firefox or something else, right? Now you only focus on those, right? My customers should be able to use this browser, this application in this browser. You don't really care, like, other browsers it supports or not. But in here, right, we can easily, now they said only, meaning limit this application to these two browsers only. Now you can create a third scenario, which would be negative, right? I'll just show you. I'll give you an example. Still requirement 001, right? This is not requirement. No, this is test case number. So left. This is TC. Let's just give name TC 001. TC equals to test case. So TC 003. This is RQ. Let's say RQ number. RQ. Okay. So we created 3 test cases for 1 requirement. Now this scenario would be verify user shall not. So this would be, give me 1 second. This would be verify user shall not. Okay, I need to close this. Shall not be able to navigate to the homepage using Firefox, right? So now you're doing a negative scenario testing, Firefox. Open the Firefox, enter this. Hit enter. Well, ideally, it should stop you here. This is it. Ideally, it should stop you here. It should not load. Verify user shall not see the login page or home page, something like that. That's it, done. Or application shall not load for the user. So that's your negative scenario, and the rest of them your positive scenario. Any questions? Okay, so this is important, guys. Understanding test cases. What is test cases? How do we create test cases? Why we need test cases? How do we create scenarios out of test cases? How do we create positive scenarios? How do we create negative scenarios? This is very, very important. So it's important that you understand. So let me walk you through another requirement. First, if you understand the requirement, you should be able to understand test cases. Requirement 002. At any point, feel free to stop me, ask questions. This is your environment. This is your platform. So don't be shy. Requirement 002, this page shall have below text displaying right below sign on header. So we are saying this text, this is also so simple, straightforward. So we are saying once you go to the sign on page, you should see this text messages, static text message. Let's see. Right here, we're testing this. Nothing but this. Should be very, very straightforward. Okay, please note supported browsers are latest version of Chrome and Edge. Same thing, right? You know, we're just saying go to the home page and verify this text exists, and supported browsers are this too. Very straightforward. So requirement 2 is very straightforward, same as requirement 001. So you should not have any questions on this. If you understand 001, 002 is very, very simple. Moving on to 003, which will 3 and 4 will be your homework, and we'll spend quite a bit of time understanding them. We'll spend quite a bit of time doing group studies on them. We'll spend quite a bit of time in the classes today and next week on those. If you can exercise requirement 003 and 004, you are a pro. You are a super tester. You will not have any issues getting a job and sustaining it. Okay, register page functionality. So here we are saying we're talking about register page functionality. So let's go to register page. This page is functionality, and you see it has so much information like input boxes, so many input boxes in different type of characters like phone numbers, emails, mandatory fields, and drop down. So much information here. Okay, so let's understand this. Okay, so the register page shall have below messages when navigated to the register page. So we are on the register page right here, and we are talking about this text message first. You see every little detail you need to capture when you are testing and building the application. So you're talking about this, right? Register page shall have the messages to create this. Okay, fine. Straightforward, right? Then moving on to input boxes, right? There are so many different input boxes. If you look at this, register page, where are you? Input boxes, right? First name, last name, phone number, email. So let's see what is the requirement defined for this. So it's saying first name, it's an input box. Input box shall exist with user having ability to enter free text. Limit is 20 digit. So we are saying here, what does that mean, free text? So we are saying this is an input box right here, and we can enter free text, anything, right? Letter, numbers, special characters. We are saying it would allow it, but the limit is only 20 digit. So let's talk how you're going to test it. First name, right? It's an input box. That's one test. Next thing, it allows you to enter text. So text can be anything: upper letter, lower letter characters, numbers, special characters. So many test cases you need to create here. You need to create, I'm going to give you the scenarios now, right? I'm going to say, right here, you need to create negative, positive boundary value scenarios. Please pay attention. This is very, very important, right? So we set first it's an input box. And how do you identify this is as an input box? When you click on it, it allows you to input something in the box, right? So right here, right now, if I click on it, it will allow me to input something. And what does it allow me to input? Anything, right? It doesn't limit me. So I will test first, am I able to enter letters, numbers, upper letter, lower letter characters, special character, mix and match, all of these scenarios. That's your positive scenarios. And all of this should be under 20 digits. So you're going to enter 1, then you're going to do like maybe something like 10 digit, then you're going to do 20 digit. That's your 3 different test cases. Now you're going to do one more than 20 digit and it should fail. So when you enter something more than 20 digit, it should say you're exceeding. It should throw an error message saying that only 20 digit is allowed for this functionality, something like that. That's your one negative scenario. Your another negative scenario, you should not enter anything here and try to bypass this. And that should be your another negative scenario. So things like this, because this is mandatory field. Everything here is mandatory. You should not be able to bypass any of this. And if you do, then it's an issue, it's a bug, it's an error, right? So last name field should be exactly the same as first name, exact same thing, right? So if you can create test cases, I think at least 5 to 7 test cases for this one. For this one, you can, test scenarios basically, right? So then you same thing, copy and paste and change first name to last name. Now phone number, that should be a little bit different. Phone number input box shall exist. Someone has a question.
I do
Fatima.
have a question. Oh, okay, yeah. Some people try to hit the button space. Does that include in 20 digit too or no?
Yeah. Yeah, if you're hitting space, right? So that is going to enter a value in your database. So that is within this 20 digit. That's a
Okay.
good catch. Yes, that's a good catch. Okay, so this is how you need to think as a tester. So phone number input box shall exist with user having ability to enter free text. Only numbers are supported by this field. Entering any text type shall result in an error message. Phone number format. So this one is interesting, right? We're saying in input box. This is an input box, which is good. You should be able to enter free text, but only numbers are supported. So your positive test is numbers. Your negative test is other things like special characters and things like this. Letters, uppercase, lowercase, all of this are negative. Now format, you need to, this is the only format are acceptable. Now anything other than this should be also negative scenarios. Here you have like 10 digits, so you need to test 10 digit, which is your positive scenario, and then you need to do like, one below 10 digit and one above 10 digit. So these are your positive, negative scenarios. Email. Input box shall exist with user having ability to enter free text. Limit is 20 digit. See, so email is same thing, limited 20 digit. Email field shall support all the domains. Email format is name@domain.com. So this is your positive scenario. You can also do negative, right? Okay. Same thing, guys. Mailing information section. You can look. I'm not gonna go through this. You can read through each and every field. We're talking about this field only, right? Mailing information. We just covered till here. Email functionality. Now we're talking about the mailing information, right? And then username and password field. So let's see username and password field. What happened? Mailing information, register. Okay, so username and password field is a different requirement. So username and password field is very complicated, so that's why it's different. This is the most security hazard, so this needs to be tested properly. So let's look at 004 username and password field function. The username input box shall exist with user having ability to enter password input box shall exist 3 tags confirm password. So we're talking about this 3, right? So now continue username requirement. So take a look at this. Username must be unique. What does that mean? There should not be any duplicates for the same application. So let's say if you have ABC123 and someone else has ABC123, the first ABC123 as a username should be accepted. Second one should throw an error message saying it's not available. So you as a tester here, you need to have 2 scenarios, right? One is, let's say whatever, right? Your name and 1, 2, 3, and then, which is good. Now, negative scenarios should be same thing again, and it should not work. So that's, you have 2 scenarios here. Must be at least, so username, still, we're talking about username, must be at least 8 characters, but no more than 10. So can someone explain how would you test this, or how would you design test cases for this one? Username field must be at least 8 characters, but not more than 10. So we're talking about this field right here. I kind of explained here, but just want to know if you understood this. Anyone? Who wants to explain? Give it a try. Anyone? Fatima, do you want to try?
If you don't mind, can you just go back to the requirement for a second, please?
Absolutely, yeah, right here. So we're talking about the username field, right? And we're talking about username must be 8 characters, but not more than 10. How would you design test cases for this one?
I would say use letter, number, symbol, but it's supposed to be 8. Like it's not more than 10.
So how many different scenarios can you create for this bullet point?
We can test it with the letters, with the numbers, with the symbol.
No,
Or maybe
I'm not talking about these lines yet. I'm just focused on this line only. Just this line, right? So you see how we covered this
like
one, how we tackle this one by
in the
creating.
box there should be only 8 numbers gonna fit, not more than 8, not more than 10.
10, right? But
Mhm.
think about this bullet point for a second. How many different scenarios
Oh,
can you?
no less than 8. It's between 8 and 10.
Right. How many different scenarios can you create for this bullet point only?
Are we able to create about 6?
Okay, that's one scenario.
I
Would
don't know
be
if he was saying the number 6 or 6 test cases, but
test
as far as positive, so as far as positive test cases, obviously you could do the 8 all the way up to 10 and not exceeding 10, and then the negative cases could be anything before 8, so 1 all the way to 7, and then beyond 10 as well, so 11 plus.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all I'm looking for, right? So how are you thinking? How are you approaching your testing? What are the things you're going to consider when it comes to this bullet point only? So now you're positive something between 8 and 10. So let's just do 9, right? I'm going to create a test case with 9 characters, and that should be acceptable. Fine, done. Now I'm going to create something below 8, and I'm going to create another scenario above 10. That's it. 3 scenarios should satisfy this one. So that's all I was looking for. Okay, the next one, you can use letters, numbers, period,
I have a
and
question.
yeah.
As for the first one, must be unique.
Yeah.
The requirement must be unique. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So when you create Gmail account, right? Nowadays, when you create a Gmail account, it's hard to find the email address by first name and last name only, right? Whenever, because Gmail has been there for 15 years now, and basically Google, right? So Google is their server. In their server, in their system, millions of email address already stored exist. Now, my name is Kadir Ahmed, right? We have so many Kadir Ahmed. If I go create a Gmail account with Kadir Ahmed, chances are 0. I will not get this account open for me because it's already taken. So now why it is taken? Because somebody else before me, they took it already, and their system only accepts unique username or unique email address. It doesn't accept duplicates. Now, if you can understand that concept, you should be good to go. Same here for each and every database, each and every application. It will only allow you to create username or email address must be unique. So it doesn't mean that you couldn't create your account in Gmail using first name and last name. It doesn't mean you won't be able to create it somewhere else. If there is a new application, let's say someone else tomorrow, let's say Apple comes up with their new system which allows you to create, I mean, Apple already does iCloud, right? iCloud or Apple Cloud, something like that. So basically, first come, first serve. You can create with your first name and last name if you're the first one, but the next person, they won't be able to create it with the same information because it only accepts unique value, which is one of a kind, right? So that's that. And
Uh,
as a tester, you need to verify that
how can we create a test case for this?
by creating 2 of the same account. First account should be accepted, second one is not accepted.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, you can, so this is where I was, you can use letters, numbers, period, and symbol. So when you're creating this username, now you need to try all of these scenarios with the letters, numbers, and special characters. Then you also need to mix and match. Here you can create any scenarios. So just use your common sense, how many scenarios and what are the things you need to cover, must cover. Username is not case sensitive. So regardless of how you enter the value, it's stored the same way. So it's not case sensitive. Upper case, lower case, doesn't matter. But for password, it's a different story. If any of the above criteria does not match, then application must display an error message and user shall not be able to log into the application. So these are mandatory, right? Whatever we are mentioning here, this must match in order for you to be eligible to create an account. So if it doesn't meet the requirement, then it will throw an error message. This username and password field, any application that has those, these are high traffic area. These are the most important area of that application. These are the area must be tested thoroughly. Security, this is a security hazard. So we need to make sure as a tester, we have created enough boundaries, enough scenarios, enough test cases to test those. Password requirement, similar thing, must be 8 to 10 characters, must contain at least 1 letter, 1 number, 1 special character. So this is mandatory, right? Whenever we create password, application usually gives some mandatory criteria that must be matched. So here we're saying must contain at least 1 letter and 1 number and 1 special character. So 3 things must be there. Must not contain spaces. Password are case sensitive. Do not make password same as username. So all of these things, guys, you need to create test cases for some of them. You need to create multiple scenarios. Fields shall only have encrypted value. So when you enter password, you know how it is, right? It doesn't show it. It looks like dot 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 dot, right? Encrypted value. Same thing here again, right? If any of the above criteria does not match, then the application must display an error message. Users shall only be able to sign into the application if they have an existing account created. And how do you create an account? By registering. Right, okay. That's it, right? So I explained the requirement for this application. This is an application, it's a live application, it's a demo application. So I explained the requirement for this application. I have practiced, created test cases with you in this class, this test case, right? Now I'll share this information with you, and I'm hoping that you can create test cases for requirement 002, 003, and 004. Now 002 is very straightforward. It's just like how we created 001. Now 003 will make you a pro. 004 will make you more than a pro when it comes to being a tester. Now you cannot do it on your own. So now next week is going to be crucial because we have Ramadan going on and we need to do some group studies. So I will encourage you, please connect with the team. Please connect with Vajibai, connect with me, Mamoon, or anyone. Your team lead, if your team lead is not available, please reach out. Please reach out to us. Reach out to any one of us. Ask questions. If you see someone is holding a group study, please jump in. If you have time, jump in, learn, and watch this recording one more time. It will give you clarification. I will share another video of how to create better test cases. Watch that video as well, and then you'll be good to go. Yes, Sister Fatima, you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. Whatever we're gonna get this type of application for testing, do we supposed to create our account to test it, or like, do you know what I mean?
Whenever you get an application like this in your work,
Yeah,
which
in
you
our
create, yeah, you'll be creating account, you'll be using dummy data to create account, you'll be using multiple different account to play with, to test it. Yeah,
Okay.
you have to.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording, but we can ask questions or anything
Hello.
else.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please, please.